Okay, we got Josh and Christian.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Josh.
How you doing, man?
Fantastic. Well, how can I help you guys?
Well, I guess we're looking to amp up revenue, and we live right outside the Washington, D.C. area, and we already do commercial work. We do commercial plumbing, and we thought, what a good way to break in, to the federal market.
Yes. So, look, whenever I speak specifically to somebody in the trades, the first question I like to ask, because I want to make sure you guys are talking to the right guy, is what is your vision like? Let me pick how I choose my words here. So I'm imagining you guys have seen a few, at least a video or two of me and what I do. But what may, what's your vision for your company over the next 5 years if you have one?
Josh, you want to take it away?
Sure. Well, our vision was just to expand in the commercial tenant space for plumbing and gas in the DC area. And then we thought, after seeing your stuff, well, I mean, we have we're licensed contractors, so could we do more? Sure. So I think that might be changing depending on how this conversation goes. I guess is the best way to say it.
Because
We've considered expansion to like a general GC.
that's really what I was looking for. And some people, look, some people think that, I am this and that's all I'll ever be. And when it's clear that I'm talking to a smart business person will look at all opportunities and not be closed minded to this is what we are as opposed to this is what we could be. And so I'm going to start this off by playing one of my fun little games. And stop me if you've heard the game before, but the answer to the question is SAM registration. Have you guys heard me play that game before?
I've seen your other videos. You talk about the difficulty doing it. I don't
Okay,
understand.
okay, I'm going to give you the answer to the question before I ask you the question. The answer is SAM registration. Ready to play?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, there's one thing and one thing only required to be a federal contractor, and that is a.
SAM registration.
So if you sell cake mix to the Navy so they can make cakes on ships, what do you need?
SAM registration.
If you sell bullets or aircraft parts or even construction goods and services, what do you need?
SAM registration.
Okay, now let's play the other part of the game. Uh, you're in the DC area, but what state are you licensed in?
DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Okay,
We're there, so
and where's your office?
Arlington, Virginia.
Virginia. Okay. So I'm going to give you three scenarios. Scenario number one: the transformer shall be replaced by a licensed electrician in the state of Virginia. Now, that has nothing to do with the company that got the job. All they needed was a what?
A licensed electrician.
Well, see, you just failed. All right.
Sam.
There's one thing and one thing only required to be a federal contractor, and that is a
Sam.
SAM registration. Okay. But in scenario number one, the electrical transformer must be change out must be installed by a licensed electrician in the state of Virginia. But that has nothing to do with the company that got the job. All they needed was a SAM registration. But in that case, if you were the company that got the job, you'd have to hire a licensed electrician in the state of Virginia to replace the transformer. Okay. Scenario number two: the transformer shall be replaced by a licensed electrician. Well, now any licensed electrician from any state can go into Virginia and replace that transformer. Again, it has nothing to do with the company that got the job. All they needed was a SAM registration. Understand this is federal eminent domain property. There's no such thing as a state inspector going on to a federal job. Okay? Scenario number three: the transformer shall be replaced. Now, that literally means that you and I can go out there on a Saturday and replace the transformer. And that's how I can tell you I've done $1 billion worth of work for the federal government. I have never had a license of any kind other than a driver's license.
Just the SAM registration.
That's right. And SAM registrations require no license. Understand, your license is a state issued license or a county issued license or some kind of local municipal license. There's no such thing as a federal government contractor's license.
Okay.
So that becomes really critical to guys that are thinking, hey, I might want to become a general contractor, depending on how this conversation goes.
Yeah, that's useful. Okay.
So it's not that I can't teach you how to get local federal plumbing contracts. Of course I can teach you that, but that's not where the real money is. I mean, it might seem like real money to you guys, but I've done plumbing work in nearly every state for the federal government, and I never know where the next plumbing job is. As an example, right now, if you watch that video where I'm talking about Michael about the 200 square foot tiny house and your 4 options, I've done that, insert plumbing work instead of 200 square foot tiny house. I've done that all over the country. Just calling a guy like you and saying, hey, my name's Sean, I'm a national federal contractor. I do everything from wind tunnels, water treatment plants to kitchen renovations, and calling you today about this plumbing job in a mechanical room that's going to require, a whole bunch of, I don't know, do you guys do, you guys say you do commercial, do you do industrial also, like iron pipe, or do you guys stick to PVC and CPVC and all that kind of stuff?
We almost exclusively do that.
Okay.
But you can't use plastic in this area.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. But you get my point. It doesn't matter what the scope of work is. I'm just hiring you guys, and then, if the job's in Virginia, I find you guys on Google, you go out there and do the job, and then see you never, because my next job's in Texas, or the next job's in Wyoming, or the next job's in California.
Okay. And you don't need individual municipality licenses because it's federal and they can't go underground. So you're basically you're selling goods and services to the government.
That's right.
With the same. Right. I can dig it. So we want to get in on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, with all that said, some people come into these Zoom meetings and they think that I'm going to here's your 7 key step to become a successful federal contractor. And if you buy my shit now, it's not like that. I'm just a guy that talks about, I always feel like my job is to open people's eyes to what federal government construction is and what it isn't. There's 30 years of shit in my head. And if you guys just ask questions, I'll answer anything you want to know.
All right, well, you've already answered a bunch of them for me. I like that, man. That's cool. Well, that's our bag, man. Is there any questions we should be asking you? Anything frequently asked that we're missing here?
What would be a frequently payment terms? The Federal Prompt Payment Act. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah, that was a big one for us.
Yeah, this is kind of fun. So it's federal law. An act of Congress is federal law. And if you go in and you can Google this, the Federal Prompt Payment Act, but the part you would be looking for says that the contractor shall be paid monthly or more often as deemed necessary by the contracting officer on a percentage complete basis. So how does a federal contractor get paid? On a percentage complete basis. So if you're 50% complete, you get paid 50%. Now, it goes on to say that on a partial pay request, meaning less than 100% complete, the contractor shall be paid within 14 days. On a final pay request, meaning 100% complete, the contractor shall be paid 30 days. Okay? So what I teach my guys to do is bill the job 98% complete, even when you're 100% complete, so that you get the money in 14 days rather than 30, and then bill the next month for the 2% and let them suck on that for 30 days. Now, every once in a while, a contracting officer will come back and say, whoa, 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 you're 100% complete. You need to bill this thing 100%. And what I tell my guys to respond to that is, listen, we've been in construction a long time, and we know that if There's going to be a warranty issue. It almost always happens within the first 30 days. We just want to make sure the government's protected for that.
Solid. Solid. Yeah, it's a lot faster than what we experience most of the time here anyways. So,
in commercial.
Yeah, there's another act called the Anti-Deficiency Act. This is what guarantees that the money is allocated to the federal contract. It is illegal for a federal procurement official, we call them contracting officers, it's illegal for them to issue a federal contract unless the money has already been allocated. And that's why you never have to argue with the federal government over money. It's already there.
Okay. That's cool. Have you had any feedback on any slowdown or difficulties experienced by people?
No. In fact, if you see enough of my videos on YouTube, I just got a phone call. I was going to say 3 or 4 days ago. It was probably a week ago now. Daniel Martinez called me up out of the blue, wanted to brag about his first federal contract. He got a $160,000 contract. It's going to cost him $60,000 to do. Here's the part that is the most beautiful part of it all. Hey Daniel, how long is it going to take you to get it done? About 3 days.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We just had a cool project and it finished real fast, and now we're gonna have to do it all over. Donald Trump's son. I'm looking for downsides here, right? It sounds like a whole lot of ups, right? But what are the main challenges, difficulties? What is the negative with dealing with federal?
In my mind, and first of all, I do talk about these in the workshop, but in my mind, there are essentially no negatives. But if you want to talk about monsters under the bed, we can talk about monsters under the bed. To me, look, everything in federal government construction is easy when you know all the answers. And that's why I always challenge people in these Zoom meetings. If you watch enough of them, I challenge them. Hey, be prepared. Come to the meeting with a lot of questions. Because I'll answer I know all the questions. I know how to solve all the problems. But if you want to talk about monsters under the bed, probably the biggest one is that there's 4 types of changes related to federal contracts. And one of them is called a directed change, where the federal government can come out and literally direct you to do work with no promise of pay. Now, it's extremely rare. I mean, I've done 1,000 federal contracts over 30 years. I got directed changes maybe 6 times total, and 2 of them didn't hold up, so maybe 4 of them were actual directed changes. But you can get a letter that says you are hereby directed to build a 3-car garage instead of a 2-car garage, and you have to immediately turn around and start doing that. Again, with no promise of pay. But now that doesn't mean that you're not going to get paid, okay? It just means there's no promise of pay when there's a directed change. So what we do is we turn around, we issue a request for equitable adjustment, and ask for a contracting officer's final decision in accordance with the Disputes Act of 1978. And at that point, they can either negotiate it, or they can give you the full change order, or they can deny it. If they deny it, you can appeal it to what's called the Armed Services Board of Contract Appeals, where you're essentially suing the federal government. You don't have to hire an attorney to do that. Now, I'm not an attorney, but it's my understanding that the Armed Services Board of Contract Appeals is the only court in the land where you can represent your company yourself rather than hire an attorney. It's essentially the proverbial contractor's day in court, okay? And you get up in front of a federal judge and you argue your case. And on the other side of the aisle, there'll be like 14 federal government attorneys trying to fight you about it. And we have done that. We've sued the federal government 14 times. We won 8. But by the way, it's all public information. You can go onto the Armed Services Board of Contract Appeals, and you can look all our court cases up, and you can read the judge's opinions. So, you know, if you want to talk about monsters under the bed.
Yeah, I just want a clear picture. You know,
no risk, no reward.
I have
I don't think you'll ever. I just can't imagine that anybody could just get on a Zoom call or, as Christian saw, send a text message and get an immediate reply from somebody who's done $1 billion worth of work, sued the federal government 14 times. I've never met my equal when it comes to the quote wealth of knowledge.
Excellent, excellent. And in your videos, you're also well connected to other services we might need, like, quote unquote bonding.
Oh, yeah. Well, those that happens two ways. Like, for instance, every once in a while, I'll get a bonding guy that'll contact me and go, "Hey, you're teaching contractors how to get federal contracts. We want to provide all the bonding for those people." But I've had the same bonding guy for 25, well, probably almost 30 years now, and he handles everybody, and he does such a good job, and he's just the best there is. And part of the reason is because he used to be an underwriter, and now he's a bonding agent. His dad ran a rather large construction company, so he understands a contractor's needs associated with bonding. I mean, he's just the best there is, and the cream always rises to the top. And good people, I've always believed that good people find good people in this world, and then once you do, you just end up being friends for life, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, a lot of relationship stuff is how it works in construction.
It can be, yeah.
Well, another question I wanted to ask is probably insurance requirements.
Sure, it's the same insurance that you already have. General liability, 1 million, 2 million.
And that's what we have.
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to work on a federal job, and they wanted a crazy umbrella, like, remember that, Josh?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the Space Force thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
but hold on a second. That might have been the prime contractor's requirement to you rather than the federal government's requirement to them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right about that. Yeah. We were dealing with a GC, someone who was,
Yep.
Exactly that.
Out of New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we need to widen our view on construction. Yeah.
So, and I think I remember seeing in one of the videos that you only do off-site work. It's not like you go into a class, right? You don't do that.
Yeah, it's online. So look, it used to be in person. When we started, if you go back and you go to my GCExperts.com/about page, I explain how it all happened. GCExperts was a total and complete accident, and it was really based on my dad's entrepreneurial brain fart when we were giving a speech up in Dallas to a group of 110 roofing and restoration contractors, and I wasn't paying attention at the time at the 50,000 foot level of the state of our economy, because when you make enough money, what happens in the economy doesn't really matter to you. But my dad is a Dudley Do-Right, if that makes sense, if you understand that reference. And Obama had issued the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, and $47 billion got pulled out of the stimulus package and put back in the general fund because there weren't enough good federal contractors. And my dad basically said, "I'm the guy that can fix that. We're going to make really good federal contractors." So it was kind of an accident that GCExperts ever happened. And now that I said all that, I forgot what your question was or what your statement was.
Well, that was it. It was just asking if it was online or in
Oh,
person.
online or in person. So we were doing the events in person, and I was recording them from 6 different camera angles. Not because I knew the pandemic was going to come someday. I just thought it was really cool that all these people were flying in from all around the country and learning from us. Then the pandemic happened, and I thought it was over. Okay, well, that was the end of GCExperts. We couldn't be called to stand on stage and give speeches anymore. And then my kid came home for Christmas, and he said, "Dad, you should put this stuff on Facebook." And I laughed, and I said, "Facebook is for pictures of me eating tacos and where your mom's going to find her future boyfriend." And we all laughed, and then New Year's came, and he stopped by my office. He said, "Seriously, you need to take this for serious." So anyway, I made a video. You guys probably saw it on Facebook or Instagram, wherever my team puts that stuff. But then I took the videos that I already had of live workshops, and I edited them all together and put a super workshop together and put it online. And so, just like in real life, somebody could raise their hand and ask a question. Well, you guys can hit pause, pick up the phone, and call me. You've got my personal cell phone number.
Okay.
And if you want to pause it, rewind it, watch a section over again, or watch the whole thing over again, I would encourage.
I want to thank you for your time, Sean.
Well, look, I'll just say this. The federal government's been here for over 200 years. I think 250 next year. It'll be here for 200 more. They're spending $1 billion a day every business day. I've been teaching this stuff now for 15 years. And, you know, it's really those three things is why when you watch any of my videos, you'll never hear me say if you buy now or if you get in by the end of July or anything like that. Any deal that's good today is good a year from now. It's good 5 years from now. You know, I'll probably stop teaching this thing in about 8 years. I'll be 60, and I think my wife will finally say, you know, let's go do some other things. But I enjoy what I'm doing, and yeah, I'll take y'all's call anytime.
Thank you so much for your time, Sean.
Yeah, man.
Really.
Yeah, appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys think of anything else, just text me back. We can jump in another Zoom.
Great, Sean.
All right, take care, guys.